Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kid Ankh. Well, this is gaming and age play, so this is a new version anyway. And these are opinion pieces that I'll give out, but I decided to do something a little bit different today, right? Okay, so recently I was supposed to do an episode, a live stream this week. But however, on Wednesday of this past Wednesday, I fell ill and had to be rushed to the emergency room. I'm okay now. The only thing is, it's just that my body is incredibly sore. For those of you that don't know, I contracted some type of stomach virus of some sort. And things got very scary because I was unable to keep water down to the point that my body became heavily dehydrated and I barely had enough strength to walk. I don't know what caused this. I just woke up one morning and just had this. So, I had to be rushed to the ER. I was there for a long ass time because they had to run a series of tests on me to make sure that it wasn't like kidney disease or stuff like that. And they could see that I was having a very hard time keeping food and water down. But they were able to help me. After a day of vomiting, I am now okay. I am extremely sore and probably am going to be sore for at least a week. Yeah, but that's the reason why there was no podcast this week, or live stream this week. There will be a gaming live stream next week, though. I want to talk about something. I really want to get into something because something has been bothering me for a couple of days now. And while sitting in the ER, I actually thought about this and remembered something I had spoke out about years and years ago before I was in the community. Years and years ago, I used to be a student activist. I used to speak out against things that I viewed as wrong in the community, in the school, in like the school districts and stuff where I lived. We uncovered that my school had a principal that was stealing money and an entire administration that was stealing money and using it for lavish vacations. And in one case, somebody used the money for the school to go and open their own school. They stole from the robotics team. There's a whole lot, right? It just so happens that during my activism time, I wrote an entire piece to the school's administration called Common Sense. It was a parody of Thomas Paine's Common Sense. For those of you that are not knowing of what the fuck I'm talking about, Common Sense is a book. It was a pamphlet. You could say it's like a small pamphlet that was given out to the people during the days of the American Revolution. It was given out just before the revolution in order to get people to understand why revolution was necessary. And it called out a lot of things that were issues in America due to being under British rule. And it was a very interesting piece, and I always admired it. That's one of the things that I admired from that time, is that piece specifically. So, I think I want to do a piece similar to that, and I'm going to call this Common Sense. I'm going to talk about a bunch of issues that I see with the community itself and how the community needs to get off its ass and actually do something. So here we go. I've been in this community 13 years. Well, 12 years. No, I'm sorry, 13. I was right, 13 years. I've been in this community 13 years. I've been doing the podcast for 12. And out of the time that I've been doing the podcast, I noticed something, is that the community has always stood up proud for years and said, We don't take kindly to predators. We don't take kindly to pedophiles. We want to build a safe community for everybody. We want like a place that we can enjoy ourselves, and essentially a place to call home. Let's just say it like that. One of the things that I've noticed is that over the time, this belief system has laxed. This belief system has gone to shit because there was always someone that was willing to take the reins of this and go out of control. There was always someone that felt that their activism needed to go exceedingly far, more so than necessary. I've always tried to pay attention to that. I've always tried to keep myself abreast of my own actions in the community and how they affect certain things. Because I've noticed that certain times in the past that I've spoken out about certain things, people have gone fucking crazy and decided to start doxing and doing wild shit. And I would constantly say, do not do shit like that. And they would do it further. And over time, I realized that the community didn't know how to respond normally because everyone is overly emotional, and they judge everything with their emotions. Because for some fucking reason, they forget that even in it, like the letter A in ABDL stands for adult. They don't get that, and they constantly respond to things in their little space instead of responding to it as an adult. The community has changed a lot since I first started in the community. Like, it's changed a lot. I've said this before. You used to have blatant fucking racists everywhere in the community, blatant transphobes, blatant fucking homophobes and bigots and white supremacists. There were a lot of that. I've talked about before, there's a model that used to say that she didn't understand why black people were in the community, and it was weird to have them here since it was a white kink. And the funny part is that every time that I've ever mentioned that, certain model gets angry about that, even though it wasn't her, that even though she knows who it is, like the people know who it is. It's just weird that they respond in the way they do. But that's not the main purpose of this. I want to talk about one of the things that the problems that we have, right? Let's start with some of the major issues. Let's start with the first one, drugs. This community has become proliferated with drugs and like EDM party culture. Now, I've been to raves. I never did the Molly. I never did Molly or acid or any of that. I never did any of that. That was never my thing. I've never really been into the drugs. Drinking, yes. Drugs, no. The most I've ever done is smoke weed. And even then, I have an issue with weed because it's a personal issue with me. I don't like the feeling of being high. I don't like the way that it makes me. That's really what it is. But there are a lot of people in the community that feel that they can only reach a little space using drugs. And over time, these people have gotten to be a bit much for the community, to the point that like it has gone from just weed to acid to Molly to shrooms to straight up LSD and ketamine. In some cases, even NO2. This is a problem. Because remember, the whole purpose of this community is consent, right? We're consenting adults. The key word there is consenting adults, right? Alcohol is also an issue if you do not know how to handle yourself. One of the biggest issues is that a lot of the people that do this stuff cannot be adults. And they will go and put places in dangers, conventions in trouble, become a liability to the convention itself by overdosing. by going there and bringing these types of drugs to the con in the first place. Everyone is thinking about their own fun, but not the trouble that they are causing everyone else. They're not thinking about the convention that they are causing trouble for. They're not thinking about their friends who have to try to explain for them of why the fuck they're having a seizure on the floor due to an overdose of ketamine. They don't understand why people are so upset about this type of behavior at conventions. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And the community doesn't want to say anything because they don't want to get involved in a whole big drama thing. They don't want to actually like be involved with anything. They're afraid. They don't want to be harassed by a T-board, sent death threats by crazed people with parasocial relationship issues, or those that worship their favorite sex worker as a goddess or a god amongst the people. They don't want to see that. They don't want to deal with situations like that. Granted, that's understandable, but that's still leaving an entire problem there unfiltered and untethered. Like, there's no way to like mediate this. Another issue is that you have conventions that will give special treatment to those people because they are fans of those people. These people are a liability. Whether you want to like it or not, they are a liability. When they come to your conventions and they do this, they are doing nothing more than creating an unsafe environment for people. They are creating a situation in which people can no longer consent, and that becomes an issue. When you create an environment in which it is like rape is very prominent, there's a problem. Again, the community is supposed to be of consenting adults. You cannot consent if you're high. You cannot consent if you're drunk. You cannot consent if you're inebriated in any way. And this is why this is an issue. A lot of these people go and they bring in cocaine. They bring in the ketamine. They bring in the weed. They bring in the dabs. They bring in all of this stuff. And you don't know how bad this shit is tainted. My question is how far will it go before fentanyl becomes something in the community? I hear a lot of people go, "Oh, I would never do fentanyl," but how do you know that? You're already exceeding the level of addiction at the moment as it is. So what's stopping that from being a problem? And then all of our conventions are then going to be outed because these addicts are at the fucking con. And then when they overdose, then we either have to go to the police and report this shit and then have the ambulance come in and everything, and that completely stop the con, or we end up with a dead body in the con. At some fucking point, the community has got to reach the point of common sense. At some fucking point. Another issue with the community is the overindulgence of sex workers being the most popular people in the community. We need to have a conversation about this. First off, right? Let me ask you a question. And I want to put this out there, right? Why do you think that sex workers are so popular in the ABDL community? Why do you think that? I had a conversation with a friend recently, and we had an in-depth conversation about this, about what the original view of the community was prior to sex work being so prominent in ABDL. Before the independent sex worker became a thing, right? The truth is that the average view of the community was a white, overweight, older white dude who was running around in a diaper and a shirt that was too small. That was the view of the community. It wasn't until the sex workers changed the view of that, and we had people that went on the internet to try to get famous and fucking ruin it for everybody, did we actually change the view of the community, for better or worse. In some cases for worse, some cases for better. It's either or. One of the things that I've started to notice is that there is this over belief that sex workers are, how can I put it? Like the heroes of this community. And I'm here to tell you, no, that is not true. Yes, they changed the way that the community is viewed, but under no circumstances are they the heroes of the story. Not in every case, anyway. The truth is that a lot of the sex workers don't really give a damn about how the community is actually viewed. And some of them are toxic, extremely toxic. This is not everybody. Not everyone is not toxic, but you have those that are. You have those that are extremely upset at the fact that they don't get special treatment because they believe that they should. In a lot of cases, they don't like the fact that there's competition. Other sex workers, other people who might be better looking or maybe does more interesting stuff. So instead of working with that person and or like trying to learn from this person, no, they would rather sit there and try to destroy them using T-boards and forum boards in order to try to push rumors and terrible things about people that they personally don't like. Some cases taking their friends' phones and posting it from their phone so that it doesn't look like they're the ones doing it, just in case they might be tracked. Some of these sex workers will bring in dangerous people into the community. That is a fucking problem. And I think that the community needs to stop idolizing sex workers. Yes, they did change the way that the community is viewed, but they are no different than any other fucking person out there. And the last thing you need to do is to tell certain people that they are special, because if you start doing that, they will start to believe their shit does not stink. And when that happens, what happens? What do you think happens? They start doing more and more like depraved shit and not caring who it affects. They don't give a damn if it affects if it affects them, because as long as their money is flowing perfectly through, then they don't really care. Fuck your convention. Your convention means nothing. Why do you think that there are so many sex workers that go to conventions and start getting drunk and drugged out of their mind, punching hole in walls because they have no fucking self-control? Why do you think that is? Well, and shame on the people that have the conventions who then cater to these people because they want they want some type of popularity. But behind the scenes, those same conventions will open their mouths and say they're just sex workers or they're just whores. So why the fuck should we try to protect them? But you would use them to try to boost yourselves then. Right. This is not an uncommon thing. I've been noticing this type of culture for years. In a lot of cases, conventions are parasites, because what they do is that they go and use these popular sex workers just to draw in people. But behind the scenes, they are literally just calling them whores behind their backs. Or they're just saying like, well, why do we need to support these people? They're just prostitutes. If you don't believe me, go on to FetLife. I don't know if it's still there, But there was a whole thing in the TeddyCon forum. It's probably deleted now, but I still remember it because I was a part of this argument where I was talking about the way that they put a sex worker's life in danger by releasing her real name in front of everyone. And that was really fucked up. And their response is, well, why should they get special treatment? They're just sex workers. In one case, he was like, they're no better than whores. What the fuck? But you want to know something? This is a common male thought process that's in the community. And yet, you have a whole bunch of people that will say to me, like, I don't think that the community is as bad as you're saying it is. Then you are purposely covering your eyes and burying your head in the sand. You're covering your eyes and ears and burying your head in the sand just so that you can ignore it. This is not new. This has all been in the community for years. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't. It doesn't change. Like hiding away does not change the fact that these things are happening. It isn't. And I think that a lot of people are misconstruing like drama from actual problems. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I foresee happening, right? Now, I foresaw something in the past, and it came true like 5 or 6 years later. I'm foreseeing something similar. If the behavior of the community continues like this with the drugs and the way that the community views a lot of this shit, right? Someone's going to end up dead. The vile rhetoric that they have with these T-boards, someone's going to get bullied, take it way too far, and end their own life. With the drugs, I called this happening, and it did. With the drugs, someone else is probably going to lose their life. We already had one girl do it. What about what's going to happen when the next girl who has mental issues is going to be given drugs? What's going to happen then? Because I'm going to be honest with you, the way that the community views it is yes, this is a problem. Yes, we should do something, but who's going to do something? Thoughts and prayers. That's what I hear from the community. Thoughts and prayers. Are we really going to do that for one of our own? When we see that there is an obvious problem in a group of people that are literally causing it? Are we really just going to ignore this? Another thing that I want to point out is the proliferation of predators in the community. The community is not really giving a damn about them. They're not. I'm gonna call it as I see it. They don't really give a damn about them. They're punchlines at this point. They are nothing more than punchlines, and the victims are the joke. And that's gross. That's a gross fucking thing to say. But that's how the community is treating it. It's a punchline and a joke. Case in point, you have people coming into the community who are going to events, who are getting drugged out of their mind and shit. No one is taking precautions. Predators go and take advantage of these people. And then the community's response is well, you should have known that these people were predators. What? What? No. Or they'll go out, call someone a predator who isn't a predator, and play defense for the actual predator. What? That doesn't make any sense. Again, like, why are we doing that? Even worse, right? In the case of this community had a guy. I forget the name. I gotta go back and look up the name. But this guy had 288 something accounts on Instagram, all of which were like Ageplay accounts where he would ask girls to show a picture of you with the pacifier or your cutest onesie and diaper or something like that. And then he would get in contact with these girls over time, pretend that he was a daddy dom, and then force them into doing cam work for him and paying him for the cam work that they were doing. Some of these girls were in high school. He was threatening some of the girls about harming their family or telling their family that what they had been doing. This man was taking advantage of young girls that were underage. You want to know what other thing that I found out about that guy? He had been caught in bed with a 12-year-old. Isn't that fucking weird? Yeah. He was a gross piece of shit. And when I spoke out against this dude threatened to sue me, only for him to find out that he couldn't because he had actually been convicted. He had been to jail for exactly this, for exactly that. Now we live in a society that is a little bit more lenient to pedophiles all of a sudden. I'm not exactly sure on what the fuck is going on with that. But it seems that the community itself is also becoming slightly more lenient to them. And that's fucking gross. That's fucking gross. Giving excuses to shit like this. Not wanting to say anything. Again, it also circles back to the drugs, because in some of these cases, these guys have enough money to bring in real fun drugs, party drugs for the community and shit. I think that we've reached a point where the community is walking a very tight rope, a very thin, tight rope, where everything is going to collapse really soon if something does not change. I think a lot of people who are the good people in this community are going to leave. And when they do, the community is going to be left with all of the fucking problems. The predators, the pedophiles, all of the drug addicts, all of the toxic ass people. And once again, this community will return to exactly where it was only 20 years ago. We're turning right back to where it was 20 years ago. And it's due to the inability to act like fucking adults. I don't want to see this community go to that. I've worked way too hard to help try to change the image of this community, to watch it be destroyed like that. But I need the community to reach the point of common sense. I need the community to actually start thinking about what the fuck is going on. I don't need overreaction. I need calm, I need conciseness, and I need people to actually start standing up and saying something. Someone recently on the T-board was like, he's frustrated because he's doing all the heavy lifting. Yes, I am. I've been here for 13 fucking years. 13 years. Been talking for 12. And let me tell you something. I've seen the best of times and the worst of times in this community. And we're right back to it. I have seen newer models come out with extremely abusive behavior, from smashing their boyfriend's hand with a hammer to involving their own parents in their fucking content. Which, the funny part about that is that is less weird than the former. I know you're probably like, what the fuck you mean by that? Well, there was another model, a porn star, that actually had her, that did ABDL work years ago, and actually had her mom to do several videos with her. It wasn't anything sexual, funny enough. It was just like forced diapering shit. Why she got her real mom to do it, I don't know. I thought that was fucking weird. If you guys ever don't know what I'm referring to, FL Baby Girl, there used to be a model there by the name of Alexis. She used to have a really she has like that sexy raspy voice because you know that she smokes way too many fucking cigarettes. But yeah, she brought her mom into that once, and I don't know how true that was. But that was in the description for the video years ago. Yeah. So that was a thing. If funny enough, I have an overextension and understanding of porn history. So especially when it comes to ABDL porn. So yeah, if there's a question, I probably have the answer. Um, yeah. My point is that the community has to start doing something. It has to. This is a point where things are going to start getting critical. This is a point that you're going to have a lot of these people scapegoating the community in order to save their own ass. And I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. I think back to Binky when she left, threw the whole community under the bus as she was on her way out because, you know, she didn't make any money. Because that was the reason. Yeah. And then you have people that are coming into the community and like trying to force their psychosis onto other people. I think, and and these people will have the same popularity that Binky does, while portraying something that was wrong, and legitimately like tricking people into age play while saying that it's non-sexual. What I mean by that is, oh yeah, doing this wild stuff that I do, like doing BDSM outside and wearing a collar and shit like that, and having someone pull me around in front of children and shit like that, it's perfectly fucking fine. Let me tell you something. When I was in high school, there was a girl that I used to have a crush on, right? Goth chick. And she used to wear chokers, right? And one choker had a thing for her to have a leash on there. And she attached it and let me pull her around while we were in Manhattan. Mind you, we were in an area that had like no kids around or anything like that. I don't think that we actually thought about that back then. Like, to be completely honest, I don't think that we really thought about that back then. But like, I remember us doing shit like that, right? The argument here would be, well, if it was okay for you all to do it, why not now? Because we are sensible now. We actually understand that maybe behavior like that is not appropriate to be doing in front of kids. Maybe like you should be more tactful and start thinking about the shit that you're doing. Like it was nuanced back then because of the fact that we weren't thinking about the implications and shit like that. We were horny teenagers. We didn't think about that shit. But now that we're adults, we have to be conscious of shit like this. And I agree with a lot of people about the whole consciousness thing. We have to be conscious. A lot of people are like, oh, it's cute and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's a fashion choice, in my opinion. But when you are purposely doing it as a sex appeal thing, and you know what you're trying to do, it starts getting real dubious after that. The whole dominatrix sub thing is fine, but and especially for goth, like goth expression and stuff, it's fine, but it has its limits. We're not teenagers anymore. We're not dumb anymore. We have to be more conscious as adults. Whether you want to be understanding of that or not, you have to be more conscious. Because pretty soon we're going to start getting to the point that the older generation that were in the community back like 10-15 years ago were doing, where I was talking about this on in one of my stories, I think, if I'm not mistaken, where you used to have older men, gentlemen that were within there between the ages of 50 and 60, some of them 70, running up there in sissy dresses, full on diaper showing and everything, Mary Jane shoes and a wig, running out in the parking lots, letting women kick them in the nuts for free ball busting play. And they would run up to like teenage girls and shit and then post it on fucking YouTube. Again, these people are not consenting, and you are forcing your shit onto them so that you can get you can get your rocks off for free. That's really fucking disgusting. Now, I know there are people in the community who'll be like, prove it. Why would I want to show that type of content? If you don't believe me, just go online. Some of that content is still there, hidden on YouTube for it sunken down into the nether regions of YouTube. However, there is proof that they exist because there are episodes of my podcast from the early days where I talked about this, where I was talking about etiquette and shit. And that's where it came from. It came from that. It came from those type of videos that those guys were doing. It came from a lot of these people doing the wild shit that they were doing. The community has always had this as an issue. It's just that the newer generation is slowly becoming a lot less conscious of what the fuck they're doing. And when I say the newer generation, I'm referring to us because we're technically the newer generation of it. You have to understand, at some point, the community has got to say something. It's got to do something. You got to stand up and put your foot down on this. I'm sorry. It is absolutely necessary that we stop allowing shit like this to be okay. We cannot allow shit like this to be okay. At some point, we have to stand up and say enough is enough. There have to be guidelines and rules that event spaces and stuff would do. Do you know that back about 20 years ago, some kink events would ban you for life for doing shit like this if they found out? Did you know that? Did you know that there were event spaces and event groups that even existed on FetLife that used to, if they found out that you were doing shit like that, they would ban you. You wouldn't be able to go to a local event, and then they would share that with other events to make sure that you can't attend. That's what we need. I'm almost saying that we kind of have to go back to that, because a lot of these people are out of control. Maybe not quite that. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think we should go back to that quite yet. But it is an issue. And again, I'm really hoping that the community heeds what I'm saying, pays attention, because once we cross the threshold, there's no coming back from this. There's no, oh, we made a mistake. There's none of that. No. We're far past that line at that point. However, I think that the community at some point will wake up to what's going on. And I think that the community is going to say something. And there are going to be hardline rules that are made. Or at least that's my hope. We need to stop supporting groups and events that allow shit like this to keep going. We can't, like, this type of shit has got to stop before it gets too bad or someone loses their life, or in some cases the community, it will be outed to everyone, and then we won't have event spaces anywhere. It's one thing to want to have fun. It's selfish, though, for you to only have fun at the expense of others. Remember, our community is supposed to be consenting adults. So why are they involving non-consenting people and making it where people cannot consent with drugs and other shit? Again, weed is not the issue. It's when we start doing hallucinogenics and shit, when we start doing ketamine and stuff at fucking parties, and people are overdosing, and then they're taking bigger and bigger hits and literally twitching on the fucking floor, is when we are actually having a problem. Do not trust people that will put you in a situation like that. It is about time that the community stands up for something, and I say that it should stand up against stuff like this. Anyway, I think I've said enough. Hopefully someday in the future, my prediction does not happen. But I have a fear that if we don't do something soon, it might. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic.